Hey, Steve Riley. Welcome to this episode of Great Practice, Great Life. And today I brought back one of my dear colleagues, one of my dear friends, Lori Pulvermacher. Lori, how you doing? Welcome to the podcast.
Doing very well, Steve. Thank you.
This is a very, very interesting question, and it's one that I brought you in on, which is really how to think about helping people and how to make a difference. And what are some of the skills that you would have to develop to help people and help make a difference in their life? Now, Lori, you have been trained in these skills. You have taught these skills. You, prior to joining Atticus, you had made a brief mistake working for someone else and then joined us and corrected your poor decision making and, on the correct path in life.
I'm on the path. Correct.
You're on the path. You're on the right path, helping, people have a great practice, great life path. Sometimes when we say this word, it makes people crazy. You ready? You ready for the word? Sales.
Oh, that four-letter word, right?
It's a dirty word for a lot of people, like sales.
Mm-hmm.
And you have coached, trained, and done sales work. One could argue I've done sales work. But this is a big deal for us, a big deal because we think the growth of law firms are somewhat limited by the lawyer's thinking paradigm and mindset around sales. What are your thoughts?
Well, you said you've done the work. I've done the work. In some respects, hopefully all of our listeners have done some of this work in the past. To the extent of how effectively they've done it, how well they've embraced it, is what we're going to dive into further today.
So let's talk for a little bit when you've done sales training and you've done training, both personally and taught it. Talk to me what sales means to you. Let's just go right at the dirty word. What does it mean?
Well, for me, I guess there's two definitions. One prior to my personal sales experience, and then what I know it to be now. And so I'm no different than a lot of the folks that are listening today who do cringe at that word sales, or, hold a hand up and say, wait, no, I'm not a salesperson. I don't do sales. That's not my job, or that's not what I do, right? So we can convince ourselves that sales isn't this title that we have or this responsibility that we have. And previously in my career, I would have told you the same thing, that I'm not a salesperson. That's not what I do. I now recognize that sales is a consultation. Sales is a conversation. Sales is identifying the challenges, the issues, the concerns, or the pains that our clients have, and identifying a solution that can support them or help them or fix that. So that's what sales is. And it really is what, again, the vast majority of our audience is going to endeavor to do. They want to be of service. They want to identify solutions that are going to work and accomplish the objectives of their clients.
What are some of the challenges that you've coached lawyers through or that you see lawyers suffer through in, quote, sales?
Yeah, well, we alluded already to kind of whatever their definition or mindset might be around sales. But additionally, we know attorneys are uber technicians. They're very comfortable in that technical role. And ultimately, they'd love to kind of reside in that role. And so, again, understanding that they have to put on the different hats, the different roles, and play the part to earn new business is essential. Again, they're hanging their own shingle, or they have a leadership responsibility within that firm. So again, recognizing what is the technical work versus what is the on the business and the business skill work that they have to do, and leaning more heavily in that area. But I think it's also important to recognize that, especially when we talk about sales and we talk about those consultations and the need to convert business, I know a lot of attorneys who are still working to hone their success ratio and their confidence in that, really struggle with asking a hard question, seeking for a definitive what happens next, are we moving forward kind of answer. And there's a sense of fear of rejection, if you would, that exists. And so they're more comfortable just, kind of blurting out the information, educating the client, and then saying, okay, well, if you want to move forward, give us a call, right? They're not pressing for a strong sales or consultative process or system. And they, in some respects, are kind of just winging it and hope, again, that the rapport that they built and the education that they provided during that initial meeting.
So any other questions or scripts or things that you would like to pass on? And by the way, thanks for relieving them of the burden I placed on them. I appreciate that.
Well, there's so many great questions, right? And this is something that, I've gone through the exercise with different clients and attorneys. But, again, every conversation is a little bit different. So I think it's just, really important to recognize, that the question piece of it is the strongest kind of tool you can apply to that. Because in your example, Steve, not everyone needs a spiel. Not everyone needs to be overly informed, right? Some individuals that come into your office have made the decision before they came to your office that they're moving forward with this. So if you don't need an hour-long consultation to convince them, if they're ready, let them. Don't create friction where friction isn't needed. And I think that's, again, part of the habit and challenge that so many fall into is they're anticipating the spiel. They're anticipating the need to educate the client. And for some of your clients, that's just not necessary. And oftentimes, with a percentage of your clients, the more information you introduce, the more you can unravel what you're actually intending to do. Because the more information people are presented with, the more they go, well, wait a minute, what do you mean by that? And what's that? Or I wasn't anticipating this. And now you're creating more questions and concern and worry for them that wasn't there. So one of the ways that I like to lead conversations is through questioning, but then again, listen to what they're saying and have a question as a follow-up to the information that they just gave.
If you really want to have a great team culture, you have to lead the charge and not complain to your team about your clients. Complain to Lori, complain to me, complain to your colleagues in your growth programs.
Right.
Hire a coach if you don't have one, complain to the coach, but your team is not your therapist. Don't throw up on your team about your complaints about your life, your people. It's your clients is the worst place to do it. And probably the biggest mistake because really you want to transform that client-centric culture. And I hear lawyers say all the time, "Oh, I have a client-centric culture." If you call their law firm and you listen to how the firm phone is answered, law office or welcome to the law office of the really bored receptionist.
Right.
You're like, that's not a client-centric culture. You're just,
Well, maybe a client-centric culture intention, or one that's been directed but not actually realized. But I mean, you raise a very good point that, again, I talk about sales is this relationship building strategy, and it's the foundation for everything, right? So every interaction, every client conversation, everything that we do with them, and every kind of experience that we try to incorporate into the work that we do, it either builds upon that trust and that experience or it erodes it. So it is a top-down effort, certainly, but it does require a team to execute because the attorney could be, just masterful in those consultations and having a really strong conversion rate. But ultimately, the team has to support in the execution of those services, and you want that masterful and quality experience to be invoked in every team member.